How's it going?
It's going well, Anna. How are you, dear?
I'm doing really well. And I'm excited about, again, I'm always excited when we do these, it makes me feel so good to be able to share these techniques with everyone. And I know that we talked today about doing the mini body scan
Hmm.
and watching the thoughts.
Yes. And this is really where we're shifting gears because up until this point we've been focusing on going into the body mind, really sensing into the breath and into the body to give ourselves the experience of knowing that there's another place, another vantage point for us to view ourselves in the world other than our cognitive and conceptual thinking. And so, with this exercise, what I'm doing is I'm going into that sensing piece initially, the breath and the sensing of the body, but I'm also going to then turn toward the thought processes, the mind, which is that train that runs 24/7, and I'm going to observe it. I'm not going to jump onto the train, but I'm going to step back from it and I'm going to observe what's happening. What are the dynamics that are taking place in my thought process without engaging in it? Therefore, I'm not fueling it. So,
Right.
this is another practice that allows us to maintain a position where I have some control, where I have more awareness, and where I can also access a conscious choice about how I want to operate in response to it rather than reacting to it.
Yes, I know it's helped me in so many ways. And I really, I think back of all the times I've used this technique and how different I reacted to things based upon just taking that time to
Yes.
really, like you said, taking that time and just feel, stepping back, feeling grounded, observing what's happening.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, the outcome has been so different than what it probably would have been if I would have never done that.
And
So,
that happens most of the time when we allow ourselves to access this. So
right.
we are going to be doing the sensing into the body, bringing in the thoughts, observing the thoughts, but also then noticing what's happening to my body as those thoughts register. So let's just try it out. Let's
Sounds
just try
great.
it out.
Okay.
Yeah. So find that comfortable position, Anna, and just settle in with that dignified posture. Feet on the floor. We don't cross any of our extremities, just so that we can have a full engagement with our sensing. And we're going to our breath as we do, because the breath leads the way into all of our practices, showing up with the breath just as we find it. There's nothing to fix. Noticing the in breath and the out breath. Just letting it be easy, letting the breath do what the breath knows how to do. And also, as we practice being with the breath, very often in a relatively short period of time, just going to the breath helps us settle into that sense of the body mind. Settling into the body feels more settled. And just letting it be easy. The in breath, the out breath, our body's response to the breath, always allowing it to be just as we find it. Noticing how within a few exchanges of breath, very often the breath begins to soften and lengthen and deepen. But then again, today it might not for some. And that's okay too. Just turning toward whatever is happening with the breath, letting it be easy. And now moving our attention to the bottoms of the feet. Notice any sensations or contact. The tops of the feet. Again, just sensing into the feet. And now moving our attention to the lower legs, from the ankle to the knees. And now from the knees to the hip. Just moving from the knees to the hips, our upper leg, across our bottoms, pelvic girdle. And now into the torso, moving our attention up the back to the shoulders, and now the front of the torso, from the lower abdomen to the shoulders. And just breathing, easy breaths, moving our attention from the shoulders now to the fingertips, down the full expanse of our arms simultaneously, taking in contact and sensations, tuning into the sensations of the backs of our hands and the palms. And now moving to our necks. Just move to the neck and how it's balancing the head. And now focusing our attention to the back of the head, from the nape of the neck, across the curve of the occipital lobe to the crown, and the sides of the head, across the back of the jaws, across the ears, temples to the crown, and the front of the head, the face, noticing first the tilt of the chin. Is it up, down, or parallel to the floor? And moving our attention to the area of the mouth and jaws, noticing any tension across the lips or tongue, the jaws, up the cheekbones and nose, across the eyes and eyelids, eyebrows, noticing that space between the brow that sometimes furrows, across our foreheads to the crown. And nice, easy breaths. Now moving our attention from the crown of the head all the way down, all sides of the head, the neck, the arms, the trunk, all sides, across our hips and bottoms into our legs, down to the bottoms of our feet, and back again, just allowing ourselves to have this sensation of breathing with the wholeness, the completeness of our bodies. And allowing it to be just easy, breath by breath, tuning into the sensations of our bodies with the inhale and the exhale. And now turning our attention from the body to any sounds that might be occurring in the room. Sounds above you and below you and in back of you and in front of you. Noticing the sounds, allowing the sounds to come to you. Notice how they may have been there all along, but now we're just turning toward them. You might notice that your mind wants to start to label or criticize or comment, and just allow yourself to be aware of that, but then coming back to the pureness of the sounds, the loudness, softness of the sounds, the tones, the frequency, spaces between sounds, sounds within sounds, subtle sounds, more intrusive sounds, Just allow yourself to be in the quality of the sounds, the frequency of the sounds. And now letting that fade to the background and turning our attention to thoughts. Because thoughts parallel that experience with the sounds. They're there all the time. But now we're turning toward them. Turning toward them to watch them. We're not engaging with them, we're watching. So it's like watching a train from a bit of a distance, back from the track, not too close. And yet it's so familiar. A train that runs 24/7, even while we're sleeping. The thought processes continue perpetually. And we're here today just to breathe and watch our thoughts. Another analogy that's often used in mindfulness training is imagine that the mind is like the sky and our thoughts are like clouds moving across the mind of the sky. Big clouds, small clouds, light fluffy clouds, dark storm clouds, all in dynamic movement across the mind, the sky, and we're watching. We're watching. Or sometimes the analogy of sitting by a lovely small river or stream and watching the flow of the water and leaves on the surface of the water floating downstream, the stream being our mind and the leaves being the thoughts in the stream. And sometimes this is actually referred to as the thought stream. And again, we're an observer. We're not trying to change the flow of the leaves or the clouds or the train. We're observing the dynamic movement. And breathing. And allowing things to be just as they are. And noticing when I feel that pull into the thoughts or want to engage, just noticing that. And as best we can, bringing ourselves back to that observer position, anchored by our breath, observing the experience of having thoughts in this moment, moving by. And if there is a thought that becomes overwhelming, compelling, pulling you in, just allow yourself to come back fully to your breath, letting the thoughts go and moving back to your in-breath and your out-breath. But as best you can, stay with that position, observing the thoughts. These thoughts, like these natural events, and now coming back to our breath, feeling the pace of the inhale and the exhale and our body's response to it. just leaving the thoughts for the moment and allowing ourselves to gather our attention to the breath, allowing it to be easy, allowing us to feel our feet anchored, breathing into our bodies from the bottoms of our feet, up our legs and trunk, shoulders and fingertips, neck, all sides of our head. And then from the crown back down to the bottoms of our feet, just breathing and noticing in this moment. And when you're ready, just blink your eyes open. How about that?
How about that?
Yeah. Sometimes it's what we often call, there's a clinical term for it, we call it yummy.
Yummy for sure.
It's yummy.
Absolutely yummy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Jane.
Yes. Thank you, Anna.